The Jurica-Suchy Nature Museum has been diligently working on a major digitization project titled Safeguarding Our Specimens. Benedictine University undergraduate student researchers have been working closely with museum staff to assist with the digitization effort. They have been working remotely to complete data entry from the original catalog cards and have helped to build the museum's new online data portal. This project is made possible by a grant from the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services. The views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this video did not necessarily represent those of the Institute of Museum and Library Services. This grant began on September 1st, 2019, and will conclude on August 31st, 2021. Here we highlight our latest achievements from this grant project, the digitization of the museum's Oology research collection. These specimens were photographed, catalogued, and entered into our new database. They will be reviewed and uploaded into the museum's Arctos data portal in the coming weeks. Here is a sneak peek at some of our egg specimens, accompanied by specimens on display in the museum, and specimen information compiled and recorded by our research students.
Egg collecting became popular during the 1800s and early 1900s among elite gentlemen collectors, naturalists, and hobbyists from England, Europe, and the United States. It was common to trade them with one another as well. At the time, many museums would sponsor expeditions to document unique species. The largest collections were often amassed by the wealthy. The U.S. in particular allowed private individuals to collect birds' eggs and nests without a permit until the 1940s. The handwritten notes that detail the eggs are said to be just as valuable as the eggs themselves. These details have allowed scientists to understand changes in bird nesting patterns and changes to egg structure over the years. To clean out the egg properly for preservation, collectors must use a needle to pierce a small hole in the shell and then drill a small circle into the egg, and finally use a curved blowpipe to blow air into the shell to remove the inner content. They are then drained by laying them hole downward on a bed of sand and cotton. Another method included perforating holes into cardboard and placing the eggs a few inches above to allow for air circulation. In the 21st century, it is now necessary to obtain a license and only collect eggs for scientific purposes. This began in the mid-20th century when bird protection laws were passed. Around this time, practices went from collecting birds to simply observing them in favor of conservation efforts. This began with the Migratory Bird Treaty Act in 1918, whose restrictions of buying and selling bird eggs still apply today.
Podolimbus podiceps, more commonly known as the Piebilled Grebe, is a species of bird native to the United States and some parts of southern Canada. What makes these birds unique is their ability to spend most of their lives on water. Because of their more posterior leg placement, grebes are strong swimmers and divers. They also have the ability to trap water within their brown feathers, which aids in their ability to float. Piebilled grebes will hunt for aquatic invertebrates such as crayfish, water bugs, and small crabs, and typically they set up bowl-shaped nests nearby on floating vegetation like water lilies and cattails. They are also known for eating large amounts of their own feathers. This is thought to help prevent prey parts like claws and shells from ending up in their intestines. Any harmful prey parts will be regurgitated into pellets, and eating feathers can be helpful in the pellet forming process. These birds are commonly confused with ducks, but an easy way to distinguish them from other birds is by looking for the distinct black stripe running vertically through their beaks. Their lifespans are no more than roughly 4 years, and clutches typically consist of 2 to 10 eggs. The eggs themselves are unspotted and bluish or greenish-white in color.
Accipiter cooperi is commonly known as Cooper's hawk, mainly found in Neo-Arctic and Neotropical regions, especially from southern Canada and the United States. These birds live in deciduous and mixed forests and open land, for instance, in urban suburban woodlands with tall trees. These birds are known to have 12 years, although their average death age has greatly reduced to 16.3 months. Cooper's hawks have a blue-gray back and a tail crossed by several dark bands and has a distinctive white band at its tip. Although they have a dark blackish ground visible, a lighter nap, they also have a long bared tail and a rather short rounded wings. These birds are carnivores and feed on other small and larger birds, small mammals such as chipmunks, squirrels, mice, insects, and reptiles. Cooper's hawk's eggs are spotted, bluish to greenish white in color. The females lay 3 to 5 eggs and incubate them for 32 to 36 days. But the male helps incubate when the female is eating. However, both the male and the female parenting is done for another 27 to 34 days when they leave the nests. Also, both the male and female participate in nesting, with the males selecting materials and building while the female occasionally helps. They build the nest using sticks and twigs and are lined with bark, carnivore, needles, and down.
Tree swallows are typically found in Canada and the northern United States, but in winter they migrate to the southern United States and Central America. They live in fields, marshes, shorelines, and swamps. The average lifespan of a tree swallow is about 2 years. They can be identified by the bright blue on their heads and the dark gray color on their wings and tail. Females usually have a duller color than males. Their diet consists of mainly insects and berries. They often forage near water for food. Tree swallows will lay an average of 4 to 7 eggs at a time. Their eggs are around 19 millimeters in length and 13.5 millimeters in width. The eggs start out pink in color before fading to white. Their nests are typically inside holes in trees and are the shape of a cup. And they're made of pine needles, feathers, grass, and weeds. Both parents help feed the young. An interesting fact about tree swallows is that they will sometimes work together to dive bomb a predator who gets too close to a nest.
The long-billed marsh wren is a small, round bird that is about 4 to 5.5 inches long and weighs about half an ounce. These birds are brown in color and have black and white streaks that run down their backs. They have a short tail which they keep almost vertical above their back. They use these tails to balance while bouncing around marshes filled with cattails and other plants. They cling to 2 stalks at once, having 1 foot on each, and shimmy up and down to sing during breeding season. Marsh wrens live in wetland environments year-round. Their diet consists of insects and are often noted foraging close to water. These birds are known to nest in shrubs and will destroy the eggs of other marsh birds. Males of this species often mate with more than 1 female. The males will also build several nests within their territory. One clutch often ranges from about 3 to 10 eggs, often brown in color with dark spots. Marsh wrens can be found all over the US and Mexico and even some parts of Canada.
Buteo lineatus is commonly referred to as a northern red-shouldered hawk. These birds are found in the Nearctic region with their residence in the eastern United States and California. However, the red-shouldered hawk birds also breed in the northeast U.S. and southern Canada, but later migrate to Mexico. In their various residences, these birds have different habitats according to their habitat range. For instance, those in the east live in deciduous and mixed forests and relatively open understory, mainly in wet woodland areas, and those in the west nest in the riverside forests of oak woodland and groves. Buteo lineatus is commonly referred to as a northern red-shouldered hawk because of their reddish luster secondary upper wings coverts that make them look like they have red shoulders. These birds are large with broad wings, long tails, and heavy bodies, with the females being larger than the males. They have an average lifespan of 25.6 months. They are carnivores and feed on small mammals, reptiles, and small birds, insects, and amphibians. These birds store their food to consume later after their capture. The female lays white eggs with brown or lavender blotches. The birds can lay 3 to 4 eggs in a period of 2 to 3 days. Their nests are large and deep and are built by the females and males using sticks, twigs, strutted bark, leaves, and green sprigs. These nests are refurbished during breeding season, and the females incubate the eggs and rear the offspring there for 1 week. The males also assist in bringing the food for the females during this period. Buteo lineatus that breed in the northern parts migrate to Mexico, but most of them usually stay in one area year-round.
Swamp sparrows can be found all over North America, but they are most common in the eastern United States and Canada. In winter, they migrate to states in the Plains region, such as North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. They live in marshes and swamps. Swamp sparrows live an average of 5 to 7 years. They are identified mainly by their chestnut-colored heads and streaks of black on their wings. Males are a bit larger than females. They mostly eat seeds and insects. Swamp sparrows will usually forage for food in the mud and shallow water of marshes. They lay an average of 4 to 5 eggs in a clutch. The eggs are about 19 millimeters in length and 15 millimeters in width and are a pale green color. Their nests are placed in marsh vegetation and have a bulky shape. Swamp sparrows use grass and other vegetation to make their nests. Both parents help feed the young. An interesting fact is that swamp sparrows like to remain hidden, but sometimes if people make a squeaking noise near a marsh, they will appear.
Rallus elegans, the king rail, is the largest of all rail species in North America. They live in marshy, wetland areas and feed on seeds, insects, fruits, and small animals such as crabs and frogs. Due to a decline in natural wetlands, this species has ended up on conservation watch list. In addition to habitat loss, king rails are killed off by hunters, cars, building collisions, and pesticides. They are considered near threatened by the IUCN Red List. King rail nests are built above water on platforms made up of dead grasses and other vegetation. They are very specific about where they choose to nest depending on the water content in the area, so they are known to move around during seasons of drought or heavy rainfall. King rail feathers are beige and brown in color and they have long, narrow beaks. The average clutch size is made up of 10 to 12 pale, brown spotted eggs, and the adults can live up to 9 years. Rallus limicola, the Virginia rail, is another North American bird species that frequents freshwater marshes. With a reddish bill and black and white barred sides, the species is known to be quite secretive. They have especially hardy forehead feathers that allow them to push their way through a wide variety of vegetation. Virginia rails are not great swimmers, but from time to time they will go swimming and diving within wetland areas. These birds eat everything from small fish, frogs, slugs, beetles, and crayfish to plant material and seeds. They will typically nest amidst common wetland plants such as cattails and bulrushes. These nests are built floating on or just above water in a basket-like formation, sometimes with a woven canopy overhead. The average clutch size of a Virginia rail is about 4 to 13 eggs, and eggs are usually white with brown or gray irregular spotting.
Song sparrows can be found anywhere in North America. In the winter, the ones who live in the north migrate to the southern United States and Mexico. They live in fields, stream sides, and marsh edges. On average, song sparrows live from 11 to 12 years. They are identified by the streaks of gray on their faces and undersides. Their diet consists of seeds, insects, and small fish. They forage for food in soil and shallow water. They lay an average of 3 to 5 eggs. Their eggs are typically around 20 millimeters in length and 14 millimeters in width and are a pale green color with brown spots. Song sparrows make their nests from bark, grass, and animal fur. The nests are in the shape of an open cup and are usually placed on the ground. Both parents help feed the young. An interesting fact about song sparrows is that their calls sound different depending on which region of the U.S. they live in.
Thank you for joining us today to learn more about the Jurica-Suchy Nature Museum's digitization project. If you would like to learn more, we invite you to connect with us on our website at ben.edu/museum or on our Facebook and Instagram. Listen to our monthly podcast, Out of the Discovery Box, on Spotify or at anchor.fm/JSNM. Thank you.